Put out a few years ago to educate the UK public on what you can say to somebody who's disfigured. Hello, nice to meet you. How are you? Pretty simple. But you know, it is amazing to me how many people feel like, I don't know what to say to somebody who's disfigured. And so we're going to talk about that in just a minute, what you can say and what you can't say. But it's really, those of us who are disfigured will kind of laugh about it a little and say like, you say hello. But it doesn't feel simple if you, in the back of your unconscious, you're speaking to Darth Vader and the Hunchback of Notre Dame, right? So, what can you do? I had a friend who contacted me recently, and he said he was on a cruise with a woman who was burned. And he had read my book, and he said, I so wanted to talk with her and say, did she know you? And say, did she read your book? But I didn't want to say anything, and I didn't want to make her uncomfortable. So I was like, so what did you do? He's like, I didn't do anything. I'm like, you could have said hello and introduce yourself and say, I'm Joe, and how are you enjoying your cruise? And did you go to the dance last night? And then maybe eventually been like, I have a friend who's also burned. And he's like, oh, why didn't I just do that? Because I guess, I don't know, it's hard. But I'm here to try to make that easier for you guys. Because it isn't actually hard. We just need to know what to do, right? So the first thing is to make that normal eye contact. And I will grant you, sometimes that's hard. Because if a face is shocking, it is shocking, right? And that's just human nature, and we can't help that. So if you find, I think almost everybody knows not to stare. Most people know not to do that. So a lot of people do wind up kind of doing the look and the glance away. Okay, fine, you did that. When you find yourself doing that, just look back and smile. Hello. Just look back and smile and say hello. We can't control that we have biases in our brain, but when we know that we have them, we can work to overcome them. Strike up a conversation. A lot of people will say, like, should I ask? Like, how did you get burned? Or what happened to you? And I will often say, like, you can. Don't make it the first thing you say, though, right? Who would want that? How did you get to be so tall? You know, nobody, how did you get to be so old? How did you get to be so bald? Like, nobody wants that. So, if you do feel compelled to ask, or maybe you might say, you might run into somebody who's burned, and you might say, oh, I saw this doctor, and she was burned too. That's cool, just don't make it the first thing you say.